Welcome. First of all, let me say, if you're watching this video right now, thank you for clicking the link. Thank you for supporting me, and hopefully the content that I'm going to be uploading, any topic that I will be talking about, hopefully, it inspires you, or, even if you didn't go through anything that I'll be discussing personally. If you know someone that's going through what I've been through, or going through anything that I've talked to, hopefully you would have a little bit more insight and inspiration to, either lend a helping ear, lend a helping hand, or, figure out a way or a tactic to get that person some help. So, my name is Shanique. I'm originally from Queens, New York. I've lived in Chicago for 2.5 years. And after Chicago, I lived in Newark, New Jersey, and now I currently reside in Pennsylvania. As you can see from the title of my show, Let That Hurt Go Sis. That's a very dear topic to me. It's a very dear title to me. And this project period is just very dear to me. I have been thinking about launching this project for some time now. Like, when I say some time, I mean some time now. But this is any topic that I'm covering is very dear to my heart. It's very dear to me. I chose Let That Hurt Go Sis because there has been plenty of times in my life where I had to stop and think, let that hurt go, sis. And even still now, I still feel like I'm a work in the process. I'm not perfect, but I started my healing process, and the most important thing is starting. But really, I wanted to create a platform where women can come together. My experiences with just my life, for me talking to a sister, me talking to a cousin, me talking to a friend, me talking to a stranger, because I do stuff like that, me talking to a stranger, or just reading different posts from different females on social media. We go through the same thing, whether it's anxiety, whether it's abuse, emotionally, physically, whether it's depression. I feel like a lot of us don't know what the triggers are, or the definitions, or how what we're feeling or our energy affects other people around us. Like, we don't, a lot of us don't know. And even when people do see a change in you or a difference in you, a lot of people don't have the skills, the necessary skills, to be able to pinpoint, or be able to sit down and talk to you, and let you know, listen, if you need to talk, we could talk. What do you need, what's going on. A lot of us don't do that, and I feel like that's because of our environments or the way we grew up. But I wanted to create a platform where we could talk. We could talk without being judged. We could talk. We could cry if we need to cry. And it took me a long time to understand that crying does not make you weak. Believe it or not, it makes you stronger. Wouldn't lie. But I wanted to give a little bit of insight about myself too, because I feel like because I've dealt with depression for years, because I've dealt with anxiety or abuse, whether it was from family, or whether it was from a friendship, or whether it's from a relationship. I have taken on different tactics. So I thought that if my hair was done, or if my nails were done, or if I dressed nice, or wore the latest sneakers, shoes, whatever, I felt like people wouldn't look at me and know that I've dealt with I dealt with things, or I was dealing with things. So I thought by masking the outside, it would help, the all around. But when it was time for me to go home at night and take all those things off, that hurt and that pain was still there. I was hurt. I was depressed. It was times where I go to sleep. Before I went to sleep at night, I would pray to God that I didn't wake up in the morning. I didn't know who to talk to. I honestly think that I didn't think that anyone would listen. I didn't think anyone would care. I felt like people would judge me. I felt like, I would be embarrassed, because I was embarrassed about anything that I went through for a long time. I was embarrassed. I didn't want people to look at me differently. I went through moments in my life where I didn't smile, I didn't laugh, I didn't talk. I would start with people, and I was never like the jealous type of person to like be jealous of, like, what someone's hair, like, oh, she get her hair done all the time, or she got the latest. I was never jealous of material things. I was more so jealous of relationships. Like if I would see, a female with her mom and they're laughing and joking and talking, I was jealous. I didn't want anything to do with you because you had something that I didn't have. I didn't want to be friends with you. I projected my hurt onto a lot of people so many times. Believe it or not, like when I saw people laughing and joking, or people just happy, I was scared. I was scared of people like that, because I couldn't understand what was in this world that, is making you so happy like that. I didn't see anything worth being happy about. I don't even think I knew what happiness was. I probably had an idea of what I thought it could be, but I wasn't happy. And I just felt like nobody else around me should be happy too. It took me a long time, a long time to get to where I'm at today. So, people see me now, I'm joking, I'm laughing, I'm partying, or, I'm dancing, like doing little TikTok dances, like, I'm speaking out a little bit more. It's because I'm in a different space right now. And if nobody else say it, I'm going to say it. I'm very proud of myself, because I never thought in a million years that this would be me. I never thought in a million years that, I could tell myself that I'm actually happy. And, even without telling myself that I'm happy or telling other people I'm happy, I never thought that I would be able to show that I'm happy. And I am. And I'm proud of myself. I think for, let me not say I think. For, most of my childhood, I really don't feel like I had a childhood. I had moments in my, where I was like, oh, okay, like I did what kids do, or I was able to do what a teenager did. I had, different moments, but it started off like real rough. I am a product of parents who abuse drugs. My mom and my dad. Nobody is exempt. My mom and my dad. My mom is from Queens. Well, I think they're originally from the Bronx, but I remember my mom's side of the family resided in Queens, and at the time my dad's side of the family resided in the Bronx. So during that era, drugs hit hard, back in the 80s and the 90s. And I know a lot of you may, know that, because, a lot of us were product kids of parents who abused drugs during that time. But they both abused drugs to the point where, they had 10 kids between each other, and they were incapable of providing or taking care of my siblings. So we were taken away. And, if you know anybody, that grew up in that era, or if you grew up in that era and, you experienced that, they came in and they grabbed them kids up, and they took them. And that was happening to a lot of families. Like, a lot of families were broken during that time. I wasn't fortunate to, live with a grandmother. Well, I'm not going to say a grandmother, my grandmother, because my mom's mom was present, but she lived what, I guess the upper class would consider poor. She lived in the projects. She didn't have room. I believe my grandmother had a 1-bedroom apartment in the projects in Queens, and it was 10 of us. What was he going to do? And, she didn't have the means. Like, financially, she wouldn't have been able to do it anyway. I believe my father's mother died young, so I don't know her. I don't ever remember seeing her. anything. So you know, we were all taken. Unfortunately, we were all split up in different ways. For the most part, I was able to grow up with 3 of my siblings from my birth mother and my birth father. But I remember we would do visits, and I think that was the process of I guess like evaluating my parents and to see if they were, you know, getting their life together as far as like not using drugs anymore or finding a stable job, you know, or just finding means to get all their kids back and raise all their kids in one home. I remember we would visit my mom. We would visit my mom in Queens at a agency. And like I believe it was like one Saturday out of the month, and we would visit my dad in the Bronx at an agency, and I believe also that was one Saturday a month. I think I want to say I had more fun at the visits in Queens. My mom was present. My mom was present for most of the visits for the most part. My grandmother was too, and her husband as well. I remember my mom. She was angry a lot. And to this day she's angry, but she was angry a lot, so I really didn't want to interact with her too much. I always knew who she was though, but I didn't want to interact with her too much because I couldn't understand why she was so angry. But my grandmother and mom, she was very nice, and her husband was very nice. I don't remember his name, but they were very nice. You know, they used to play, you know, bring little toys for us to play with. Like, they were very nice. The visits with my dad in the Bronx, I only remember seeing my dad once, but I do remember his people from his family being present, like a couple of my cousins, and I think my aunt, you know, was present at one time. But like I said, I only remember seeing my dad once, so I can't, you know, say too much about him. And even still to this day, because my dad passed away when I was in 7th grade. I didn't get to go to the funeral or anything, or, you know, I never had the opportunity to even meet him or, you know, ask him any questions or anything. So I never, you know, got that closure with that situation. But my mom, what I can say about my mom is I do remember it seemed like my mom was pregnant all the time. It seemed like every year, like, my mom was pregnant. And I was the type of kid, even though I was young, I was aware. Like, I listened. I was so nosy, but I feel like I was nosy for a reason. But I feel like that helped me, you know. I feel like that was a good characteristic to have at that age, because you couldn't tell me nothing. Because, you know, I'm a think, and 9 times out of 10, I saw what you did, or I heard it. So I heard what you said. So it was really nothing that that I wasn't, you know, aware of. I do remember one time with my mom. I'm not sure if I lived with her at this time, or they allowed, you know, me to go with her for like a weekend or something. But I remember getting out of like an old Jeep, and it was me, my sister that's a year older than me, her, and it was a man. I don't remember what the man looks like, so I can't describe him. But I remember he walked in the house first, my mom walked in the house, my sister walked in the house, and then it was me. My finger got caught in the door. I don't remember crying. I was like real tough, but I don't remember crying or anything. I remember my sister crying, but I feel like my sister cried because she knew, like, I was hurt. I remember my finger being in the door for hours. I could be exaggerating, but it felt like hours. And I remember the living room, it was like an open space. There was no furniture. I remember it being like a big box, one of the big old-fashioned box TVs on the floor. I remember like folding cookout chairs. I remember that, and I think it was like 2, maybe 3 in the living room. And the man that walked in, that was with us, he was in one chair, and I remember my mom being in the other chair, and it was centered like in the middle of the floor, and my mom was just sitting there while my finger is in the door and my sister is on the floor crying. And I just remember my sister looking at me crying, and then looking back at my mom, and then looking at me, and then looking back at my mom, and my mom was just in the chair, like, just stuck. And I could see my sister like looking at both of us through her peripheral, but I'm looking directly at my mom, and my mom is looking directly at me, and she didn't move. She didn't bat an eye, a lash, nothing. I don't remember what happened after that. And like I said, I don't know if that was a visit that we were allowed to go with my mom for like a weekend or something, or if that was a time where I was under my mom's care. Like my mom had, full rights of me. But I do know that I never went with my mom again. And the only time I was in my mom's presence was when we had the Saturday meetings or the Saturday visits at the agency in Queens. I would say that I was happy that my mom, would come to the visits, even if we didn't have like major interactions, because she was mean. But I liked seeing her. Like I liked looking at her. I liked watching her, because no matter how bad parents are to a kid, they still love their parents. And to this day, I still love my mom, even if I don't have any interactions with her and I really don't know anything about her. I love my mom. I do remember a social worker coming to my house one day, because at this time, like I said, we're doing visits. So I wasn't adopted yet, but I was living with another family, the Jones family. And in that family, I'm sorry to piggyback, but with that family, with the Jones family, I had, my foster mom, my foster sisters and brothers, and this is the first and last time I'm going to refer to them as foster, only because I really don't like that term, because I grew up with them, so that's my family. But I just wanted to differentiate the two, so I won't confuse anyone. So I remember a social worker coming to my house in Queens, and I remember her, she was really nice. I remember her telling me that my mom wouldn't come to she's not going to be coming to any visits anymore. She said she doesn't want to come anymore. She told me that my mom was having another son, and I was hurt, but I didn't show it. And I remember the social worker asked if I was okay. Did I understand? And I told her yes, and I did understand. And I remember asking, was the baby, once she has the baby, is the baby coming to live with us? Because that's what I was used to. Because, I'm 29. My sister is, my sister's 31, because I'm about to be 30. And then I have my brother that's right under me, that's 28, and then my brother right under him, that's 27. They were they were living in that house with me. So I was used to, every time my mother had a baby get dropped off. A baby get dropped off. And then, I'm sorry, I have another little sister, but she was with another family. So yeah, so my mother was pregnant with my youngest brother at this time. So I asked, was the baby coming to live with us? And the lady said no. So I said, oh, like, so is he going with, my other sister? And she said no. She said, your mother is married and she's keeping her baby. And that hurt me. But, I didn't show it, but it hurt. So it was just like, all right, now I just gotta, go on and live my life, without my mom. Like, I have a new family now, and I guess that's just that. So, and that was the last time I even heard, anything from my mom or seen my mom or anything. So now, moving forward, I remember I used to cry a lot as a kid, and my siblings, like the older siblings that grew up in the house, they would always tell me that I used to cry a lot because around dinner time or like lunchtime or breakfast, whatever, anything that involved food. Like, I used to cry because I thought that they said I thought I wasn't gonna get fed. Like, I thought I wasn't gonna eat. And when I heard that, I was older, like when they told me that, and that was like, wow. Like, I do remember crying all the time, but I didn't remember like the time of day or anything that I would cry. And that just made me think, like, wow, like, what was I going through with my mom? Like, what was she putting me through? Like, I don't remember. I really don't remember, but it had to be traumatic for me to cry because I thought that I wasn't gonna get fed. But now my new mom, she was like in the adoption. I was about to say adoption business, but really, if you want to be technical, it is a business. But she was like like a top person when it came to the adoption agency in Queens because she raised a lot of kids, and if she didn't raise them or adopt them legally, like go through the whole process of adopting them, she, like when a kid was taken from their home, like they went to a home and until they found better placement on, until their parents got back on their feet and was able to take care of them properly. But myself, my sister, and my two younger brothers, we were her last and like her youngest, and everyone she adopted or raised, they were way older than us. I could say like the first couple of months or like the first couple of years with her, I used to sleep in the bed with her, and it felt good because I didn't get to have that interaction with my mom, and it felt good to be loved or be loved on. Like it felt good. But I remember like things changed. Like I started peeing in the bed. I'm a kid. You know what I'm saying? That's what kids do. And if we don't pee in the bed all the time, like it happens. Like accidents happen. And I remember she like beat me like real bad. She beat me real bad. And she told me I couldn't sleep in her room anymore. And I'm a kid. So, you could tell a kid something in the morning and they may not remember it by the end of the day or the end of the night. So that night, I'm not thinking about what she said earlier today. So, once I get my pajamas on or once I'm done in the bathroom, whatever, what did I do? Like, I went to my mother's room and she was laying down, she was watching TV. And she got out of the bed and she beat me again. Like, didn't I tell you to get out of my fucking room? You're not sleeping. And she beat me, and I like instantly became like real scared. And I was scared to the point where I wouldn't even step foot in her room. Like, even if I had like a question, I'd stop at the door. And like me peeing in the bed, it didn't stop. Honestly, if I'm being technical, I didn't stop peeing in the bed till I was 12. I had a serious problem. Don't know why. But that was the second time she beat me, and after that, it just didn't stop. It didn't stop. She'll beat me for anything. Like, she'll beat me if I was playing with my dolls too loud. Like, she'll beat me, if I'm playing in a tub while I'm taking a bath. She beat me. She beat me. And eventually, I stopped playing with toys. I stopped playing with toys because I was scared to make noise. Like, I remember, like, if I'm coming down the stairs or going down the stairs, like, I would tiptoe because I was scared. I was scared to make noise because I was scared to get beat. I remember times where, like, I couldn't even go outside. And I'm talking from my perspective only because, my brothers, they and my sister, they went through what I went through too. But I don't want to tell this story from, how they felt or how, she made them feel in that situation. I could only tell it from my perspective. And, if they want to tell their side of the story, like, all means or whatever. But I do want to respect their side of the story. It's similar though, just to, throw that out there. But I remember I couldn't use the bathroom. Like, she would lock the bathroom doors. I don't know if it was the smell of like doodle that she didn't like, but she would lock the bathroom doors. And I had to ask her, can I use the bathroom? And sometimes she would say yes, sometimes she would act like she didn't hear me ask her. So I think that resulted in me peeing on myself a lot. I remember having to like take newspaper and do number 2 in the newspaper and put it in a plastic bag and throw it out the window because she wouldn't let me use the bathroom. My dad, I really didn't have a relationship with my dad in the beginning because he was the worker. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom and he was the worker. So he was the one that, worked from day into night. So the only time I saw my father was when he took us to school in the morning. And then after that, like the rest of the day, I didn't see him. Some nights if I was still up, I would hear him come in the house, but I really didn't have an interaction with my dad. So one night, I guess he was off or he took off early. My mom was sitting on her favorite couch, and my dad, like, he had his little favorite couch, the recliner like chair. It was so weird. I couldn't sit on the couch. I don't know why. I don't remember why. Probably because of my accidents that I had. But she made me sit on the floor, and I believe they were watching Jeopardy or something. And I had to pee really bad, really, really, really bad. And I was trying to hold it until, like, it was time to go to bed so I could just, like, go upstairs or something like that. But it was, like, really, really, really bad. I had to pee. So I asked my mom, can I use the bathroom? And my father, he just got real upset. Like, why are you asking to go to the bathroom? It's 2 bathrooms in this house. Like, if you have to use the bathroom, go to the bathroom. Like, you're not in school. And in that moment, I knew that my father didn't know what was going on in our house. So, and my mom, she played along, like you stupid, like you. Why would you have to ask me to go to the bathroom? It's a bathroom, like da da da. And it was just like, whoa. But I saw the look on my mom's face, and I was scared because I knew that as soon as my father left, she was gonna beat me. She was gonna beat my ass. And exactly what she did. My father went out to go get some cigarettes, and she beat me. She beat me, and she told me that I embarrassed her, and she told me that I better not do it again. So anytime after that, when I was in the living room on the floor while they were watching, sitting on the floor while they was watching TV, if I had to pee, I'd just pee on myself because I didn't know what to do. I was scared. Because if I would just get up and go to the bathroom, I knew that my mom was going to beat me. If I asked her to go to the bathroom, I knew my mom was going to beat me. I was a kid. I remember times where, as far as like keeping a roof over our head and, my mom feeding us, we never had an issue with that. As far as like my hair being done or like my, clothes being, like having clothes and sneakers and stuff like that, never had a problem with that. Like my mom was always on top of that. That's one thing I never had to worry about. Like my mom, she kept us intact and stuff like that. But anyway, like I said, my dad, he used to take us to school in the morning. So he'll be outside. Like I was used to like coming downstairs and my dad already be outside in his truck, warming up the truck. And my mom, she'll be sitting on the couch. And it's like right in this position I am, because you coming down the stairs from that way. She's sitting right on the couch before I walk out the door. So she wanted to see like, if we had our uniforms on right, if it was iron, if I had my little bow thing for my uniform, like if my face was moisturized, whatever. And I used to hug. I remember like times, like even when I was in preschool, like I remember I used to like be able to give my mom a hug and a kiss. So that's what I was used to. So whenever she sat there in the morning, I give her a hug and I try to kiss her, and she'll move her face. She did that for a long time, but for some reason I still tried it. Excuse me. For some reason I still tried it, and then one day I did it in the kiss land on cheek. She was mad as hell, like she was livid, and she just went off like, don't ever put your lips on me again, don't ever kiss me, da 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 da. And I was hurt because I couldn't understand like what happened. I remember times like when I was in preschool where like I didn't want to leave my mother's side. Like I would stand at the window in preschool literally all day and wait to see my mother come back around that corner. Like she used to have to bribe me with like candy bars for me to like stay in school and not be under her. And then it was just like everything just flipped, and I couldn't understand because I loved her. Like, I loved her a lot. And I didn't know if it was something that I did or something that, I wasn't doing. I just couldn't understand. I remember I used to try to do like extra, little things to like try to make her happy so she wouldn't be mean to me or like for her to just love me. I was like 5, 6 years old, taking a chair in the kitchen, putting it to the sink to wash dishes just to make her happy. Like I really used to do like things that I feel like I shouldn't have been doing to try to make her happy. And, at first it was like, oh, yeah, knick-knack, because my family called me knick-knack. Like, oh, knick-knack, she washed the dishes. She washing the dishes. But it didn't turn into, like, an appreciating thing. Like, okay, let me start treating her better. It turned into a chore. So I'm 6 years old, cleaning the kitchen every day. Every day. So I started acting out a little bit. Especially in school. I started acting out a little bit because I felt like that was the only way like I had her attention. I was always smart, like I always had good grades, but I just acted out and my teachers could not understand. And I wouldn't tell them. I remember a time I was in second grade, maybe first grade, but I want to say second grade. And I woke up one day, getting ready for school. I was so sick. I was so weak, but I was trying to thug it out because, I didn't want to hear my mother's mouth. But I was so sick to the point where, like, I just told her, like, Mommy, I'm sick. Like, I don't feel well. Like, I was weak, everything. I remember this day like it was yesterday. And I remember going outside because my dad, he'll warm up the car in the driveway, and then I'll wait or we'll wait, at the end of the driveway, he'll pull the car out and we'll get in. But before he in the process of pulling the car, down the driveway, I threw up outside on like in the beginning of the driveway. Threw up everywhere. And I remember my mom saying, telling my dad, like, take the rest of them to school so they wouldn't be late. Like, she got to change. So I'm thinking I'm going in the house, to take a bath, get into bed because I'm sick. She beat my ass. And she filled up a bucket with water. And she made me go outside and clean the throw up. When I cleaned the throw up, I had to get in the bath. Got in the bath. She made me put on a uniform, and she walked me to school. I had to still go to school. I was sick. So I got beat for being sick. And I had to clean the throw up, and I had to still go to school. And I couldn't understand. And I think that's the time, like around the time where I was jealous of, like, other girls in their relationships with their moms and things like that. And I didn't think that anyone would believe what was going on in my house because my mom, she kept us up. My hair was always done. Like I said, like I had clothes. My clothes were always nice and, neat, like ironed. I had sneakers, I had shoes, like I had it. So no one would be like, oh, she's abusing her, because she kept me looking nice. One day, she came to pick me up from school, and I saw all the other kids like running to their moms and, hugging their moms, like, Mom, like, hey, Mommy, I miss you, I love you. So I'm like, I used to study stuff like that. So, see different things, like how the girls react with their mom. So I did it too. And, I ran to her, hugged her. She hugged me back. And I told her, I'm like, Mommy, I love you. And she whispered in my ear, and she said to me, she said, I wish I could love you. I wish I could love you too, but it's hard. And after that, I just stopped trying. I just stopped trying because I didn't understand. I didn't understand. And it was like mad thoughts running through my head. Like I left one situation where my mother couldn't love me because she was incapable because of, her drug addiction or, what she was into, running the streets and stuff like that. So I was put into your home, where you promised, to love me and you promised to take care of me. So I think I started to normalize like this This is how it is. This is how it's going to be. But at the same time, it was funny because everybody in my, in my neighborhood loved my mother. They loved her. She was a different person outside of the house, or like when company was over and stuff like that. She was a different person. So nobody knew. Nobody knew. One day, my mom, she was going school shopping. I was starting 3rd grade, and she went school shopping pretty late because it was in September. And she went to Jamaica Ave. She was going school shopping, normal, going school shopping like clothes, school supplies, whatever. She went alone. I think she always went alone. I don't ever remember a time going well. And I remember my cousin coming in the house screaming and yelling and crying or whatever, but it was like an ugly cry, so I didn't know if she was like cracking up. Like I didn't know. And I remember like a whole bunch of people coming to my house, like people in my neighborhood, people in, my family. My dad came home early, and that was the earliest I ever seen my dad home. And, he told us all to come downstairs, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm watching everybody, and everybody is like crying and sobbing, and I still don't know what's going on. And, somebody explained to me, I don't remember who it was, but somebody explained to me, like, your mom died, and she's not coming back. I didn't cry. I didn't cry. It was like no emotion, in me to cry. And I felt like I should have cried because everybody else was crying. But I don't know if a part of me didn't understand like what death was or what. I remember looking in the dining room, and I remember, looking at my dad, and my dad wasn't crying. So I'm like, okay, well, if he's not crying, then I'm definitely not gonna cry. But I just sat there and like just watched him the whole time because it was just like, wow, like what's gonna happen? Like what's gonna happen to me? Or what's gonna happen to my siblings? Like what's gonna happen? And I don't call him my brother, but facts is fact. He's my brother. My parents. Well, his parents are my parents. But I remember hearing my brother telling my dad, "Fuck those kids. Fuck those kids. Send them back to where they came from. They're no good. Fuck them. They're the reason why my mom is dead anyway. Send them back to where they came from. They're a product of foster care anyway. Nobody wanted them. That's why they were here. Live your life." And I was scared because I don't ever remember living anywhere else besides there and, with my mom. And I know my mom, she done moved on with her life, so it was like, oh my God, like I don't know nobody else. But my dad said, those are my kids. I gave them my last name. Can't no paper tell me differently. My heart skipped a beat, I became a little bit more, I guess, confident in my situation. But it was kind of crazy, I would say, because I didn't know how I was going to be, because like I said, I didn't have a relationship with my dad because my dad was always working. But what I can say is my dad did what he was supposed to do. My father did what he was supposed to do until this day. Like, that is like the pillar. He's like the pillar of like, great men. Like, I don't speak about a great man and don't mention my father. He still worked a lot, but he hired a nanny. We went through like 6 nannies actually, but we went through a nanny, and it was so funny because when I was young, I thought we were rich because who did you know had that had a nanny besides like little rich kids that you see on TV? But he hired a nanny. She was a living nanny, so she was with us from Monday through Friday, and then Saturday she was off. I remember, I started slacking in school, but my father got us tutors. He made sure like we played instruments. Like he got us you know, people that came to our house to teach us how to play instruments and like practice with us and stuff like that. Food, we had food galore. Like I remember going food shopping with him, and we used to have like 2 carts, and it was like no limit. Like we didn't have to be like, Daddy, can we get this? Daddy, can we get that? We just put it in the cart. Put it in the cart. Like we had everything. We had everything. It was a lot that my father didn't know because he wasn't used to certain things, but he made it happen. Like Christmas was still, you know, the same. You know, birthdays. We had birthdays because with my mom, I didn't. You know, we had birthdays. We celebrated birthdays. Like, you know, we did different things. And a lot of people would say that my father spoiled us, and he did, especially me. Like, my father spoiled me, so I knew, like, any little thing. And it was funny because I'm a kid. Kids do shit like that. Like, I used to start with people and, like, go tell my dad. Like, if they'd make me mad and retaliate, I'll go tell my dad, and because I knew my father was going to react. Or, like, if anybody told on me, like, you were getting cursed out. You would go to my dad and tell on me, thinking that my dad was going to, like, punish me or yell at me. He was going to curse you out. And he was going to tell you shouldn't have been bothering her. But other than that, like, my father, like, he used to teach us a lot. He used to teach us a lot of things that I didn't understand as a child. And I used to be like, why is he telling us? Why is he telling me this? But, you know, he was very strict. I can say that. Like, I couldn't spend a night at nobody's house. I couldn't play in nobody's. My father was strict. He did not play. He didn't play about stuff like that. But he was very smart, too. My father was a very smart man. A very smart man. My dad started getting sick. He started getting sick. And he would be in the hospital a lot. Like, sometimes months at a time. And I was young, so I could never go upstairs in the hospital room to see him. I would have to wait in the waiting room. But I remember, like, my dad would always request the room view with the parking lot view, so that we could go in the parking lot and he could wave to us from the window. And I was real hurt during them times because I loved my father. Like, I loved my father, and he knew I loved him. Like, he'll walk through the door and I'm running, like, to jump in his arms. Like, I love my dad. I love my dad, for real. So, you know, whenever he would come home from the hospital, like, of course, I was, like, always under him. Like, always under him. For some reason, like, me and him just had, like, a different connection. Like, I don't know. I think it was, like, because I was into a lot of things that he was into, like the clarinet and, like, jazz music. Like, you know, just little things like that. But, I remember one year, this was around Christmas time, 2002, because my dad died in 2003. I remember he was so sick that he couldn't get out of bed. Like, my dad couldn't get out of bed, and it was Christmas Day. He couldn't get out of bed. But he gathered, like, enough strength to get out of bed and watch his kids open their Christmas gifts. And everything I got that year for Christmas, like my coat, whatever clothes, it was so ugly. It was so ugly, but because my dad bought it, like, I pretended to like it. And because I knew, like, he got his strength together to get out of bed to watch us open our gifts. And it was just a sad Christmas. Like, everybody was just quiet. It was a real sad Christmas. And I remember the day after, he sat on the couch, and I was in the dining room. Like, I think my cousins was over and my brothers and stuff like that. We was in the dining room, like, playing. And I remember my dad, like, he was just staring at us. He was staring at us, and he didn't blink. And I just stared. I just stopped playing whatever we was playing, and I just sat there and I just stared back. And it was just like he was hurt, and it was like he was just telling me, like, he was sorry. And I was hurt too, because, like, I didn't know what to do. And I didn't know what to say, because I never saw my father like that. I saw my father cry one time, and that was by himself, crying over my mom's obituary. My father was, like, real strong, and he was strong for everybody. And, you know, they made him go to the hospital, and we was back at square one, like, you know, waiting to see like when he was coming home. And I always had confidence that my dad was coming home, like always. And I remember my cousin coming over and she was telling her dad, like, you know, I didn't get to see him while he was in the hospital. Like, can you take me or whatever? So he was like, I'm watching the kids, but, you know, they could sit in the waiting room or whatever. So it felt like I was in the waiting room for hours. But when they came downstairs, you know, to get us, they were, oh, he's doing so much better. He's eating, he's talking, he don't have the tools to him no more. So I'm excited because I felt like, oh my God, like, you know, my dad is coming home soon. Like, daddy coming home soon. Like, I get to see him. So when you get to the house, like, I'm telling my brothers and my sister, like, come on, let's clean up. Like, daddy is coming home. Daddy coming home soon. Like, they said he was, you know, doing better. So we cleaned up. We eating, like, salt and vinegar chips or something like that. And we're watching the Disney Channel. And a phone ring or whatever. So I answered it because, you know, I thought it was my dad. And it was a hospital. And the nurse, she said, I'm sorry to inform you, but Larry Jones has passed. And I didn't know. It was like my life flashed in front of me. Because it was like, how can that be? When y'all just told me that he was doing better. Like, he was okay. He was talking. He was eating. It was no tubes. Y'all made me think that my father was coming home soon. And y'all lied. Y'all lied. You know, and I picked up the phone thinking it was my dad, but it was the hospital to tell me that my dad was gone. And at that moment, I was like 10 or about to turn 10. It was like that moment, it was like, I'm grown now. Like, everything that my father ever told me to, like, prepare me for life, everything just started playing in my head. Like, it was like, this is the time. This is now. It's happening. This is what he was talking about. It was just that I didn't take it serious before because I didn't think it would be that soon. I didn't think that I was going to lose my mother and father to drugs and then lose my mother while she was going school shopping a couple days before I started third grade, probably like 2 days before I started third grade. And then we celebrate the new year and then my father died 2 days later. I didn't think that my life was gonna go like that. Like, I thought I was gonna at least have my dad forever. And I just couldn't understand why was all of that happening to me. It was like, what did I do? What did I do?